From the nation's capital, this is the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast with your host, Rob Snowhite.
This is episode 257 of the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Hatch Outdoors. My name is Rob Snowhite. We last spoke to Justin Schiavone in January of 2016. We're catching up with him, and we're going to hear his thoughts and observations after living in Colorado for the past 4 years. It's time to start ordering your shad flies. Please get them in now before the busy season starts around April. Please visit Hatch Outdoors for more information on Hatch Reels. The Fanatic Reels cover the bases from trout, steelhead, bonefish, and redfish to carp and tarpon. The dependable sealed water-resistant drag keeps pressure on the fish and debris out of the action. Experts rate this as one of the top fresh and saltwater reels in the world. Reels are customizable in a variety of colors. Please go to your local Hatch dealer or visit Hatch Outdoors for more information. I'm looking forward to baptizing my 7 Plus in some salt water when spring break comes around in April. Some of the older podcast listeners may remember that Justin was on maybe 2 or 3 years ago when he had just moved to Colorado. We're going to catch up with him now to see how things are different and what's going on with the Colorado fly fishing scene. So Justin, where are you?
I am actually in Oklahoma right now. Yeah, I'm here for work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a basket weaver, so I got to go where the people need baskets.
And, everyone needs a good basket, and Oklahomans, I'm sure, to put things in.
Yeah, especially Oklahomans.
What things would they be putting in baskets in Oklahoma?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't get that far with them, but no, I'm an accountant, so we can digress quickly, but I'm heading back to Colorado tomorrow and looking forward to it. I was fishing last week on the South Platte, and it was too cold to fish. Water temps are around 38 and 39, so it was more of a hike. Well, actually, that's not true. We did a bit of a cast and blast and not much of a cast, but so much as a blast, so we shot a couple birds. Yeah, there was no fish to be had, too cold.
So for someone that may be in Florida that doesn't know about the South Platte and its systems, you want to just give a brief little explanation?
Sure, yeah. The South Platte is a series of reservoir tailwater, and those tailwaters are super productive, and we'll have migratory fish and things of that nature, but ultimately you just have a series of tailwaters. That's primarily where a lot of the good fishing is around me. There's some freestones, of course, the Arkansas, to name one famous one. And Colorado, I believe, is one as well. And yeah, are you laughing at the Arkansas? Because
yes,
that gets you every time, I know.
I think so. Oh, my goodness.
But does that suffice? Does that explain it well enough? It's really not very complicated, but it's sort of hard to grasp where the Dream Stream is and where the 11 Mile is, but they're all tailwaters, and 11 Mile's out of the 11 Mile Reservoir, so that one's easy, but the Dream Stream comes from, what's that reservoir?
Spinney Mountain?
Yeah, Spinney, yeah. So I guess there is a little change in my approach from when we last spoke. I do a lot more stillwater fishing, and that's been a very cool avenue of fly fishing that I've sort of been trying to get on, and it's been very productive. It's a fun way to fish.
You fishing on foot or from a boat?
So on ice off, I can fish from foot because those trout will hug the shorelines. I think they follow the bait fish that cruise out there, and honestly, the most productive method I've found has really just been a bobber rig, a long leader, but a bobber rig with, a couple flies. And I usually will fish a leech pattern to like a nymph, especially if it's choppy, because that chop will actually put emotion on your fly. So a lot of jig flies, a lot of leeches, stuff like that. And when the bobber is bouncing up and down, it's actually moving that fly for you.
You ever throw the Snowhite damsel for those shallow cruisers?
I do actually, but I don't tie it with the chartreuse. I do more natural colors like a black and olive. I have thrown that, and it works. Yeah.
What size tippet would you be using?
So honestly, with that, I go pretty big because they're big fish. So I'll fish. The light is probably 6 pound fluoro, and I think that would be 4X if you translate it. But maybe a little light. I don't know. I buy big spools of fluoro now these days because save a little money.
Yeah, man. And, what's your home fly shop these days?
My house. Yeah. So I've been mostly tying all my flies from things I shoot. I'd say probably 80% of my material is all El Natural. And I do tie my own leader still and all that stuff. So, but, the Cubby or South Platte Fly Shop. What's up, Sam? Shout out. And then my good friend Anthony Marisi, he of High Peaks Rep, he always hooks it up with some leaders and stuff because I do like throwing a knotless leader for dry flies. I think that makes a big difference. Those knots will catch current and throw your size 24 off.
Size 24, that is. Okay.
Yeah, well, we fish, honestly, mostly in those tailwater systems. I'm not really usually throwing much bigger than a size 16 when it comes to nymphs, probably 18 or smaller when it comes to dries. I mean, there's opportunities sometimes to throw bigger flies, but typically, we're fishing betas, BWO, hatches, midge hatches, caddis are even small.
Do people at altitude have better vision? Does less oxygen make you guys be able to see little flies better?
No, I think it just cuts off oxygen in the brain, so we still do it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we still find enjoyment out of it somehow. But the small fly game is rough, but you get used to it. For me, I've dialed in pretty much my patterns to, they're streamlined, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't have that many different patterns because that's one luxury of throwing small flies. I think is you can accomplish, a lot with just a black beauty, for example. Zebra midge, those are the larvae and pupa state in reverse order there, but that I typically throw. And the rojo midge, another awesome fly. And Betis is basically I throw a pheasant tail, and I'm really pretty well off with that fly. And I'm not often outfished by all those guys with the thousands of different patterns and small betas stuff, you know what I mean? So
are there flies that those fish just see all the time?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is deviation of any sort with the main patterns is just the key because I'll often swap out materials but tie the same fly, and it works a lot better because they see the same fly every time. And the best example I would say is the RS2. And I tie that with a lot of different stuff, but, CDC was the original pattern, and I don't think it's really tied with that much anymore. And I tie it with that now more than I tie it with the Glamour Medora or whatever that stuff is. And I have a lot more success, I think.
So now that you've been out there, how many years has it been?
About 5.
5 years. Are there misconceptions about Colorado that you may have heard back east and you're just like, no, that's not true? Anything about the fishing scene, crowds, public water?
So I don't know if people understand how pressured the fish are. That's probably something there that, it's so crowded. And honestly, that's why I've started fishing more of the tailwater, the reservoirs. And honestly, and when it comes to prime time, I barely fish a Platte anymore. There's just so many people, and I don't think it's a misconception, but I did anticipate running into more anglers that were a little bit more dialed in with the different approaches. It's really a nymph game, even when fish are rising, and that's just been so frustrating because I'll have fish rising, want to cast to them and sight fish, and someone will come out of nowhere and just plop a bobber over their heads and down they go. So that's been super frustrating, and as a result, we've sort of been kind of looking at more natural off the grid stuff that, you know, you got to hike to or back to, or, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, or it's not known, or, and those are getting very far few between, excuse me. But yeah, getting away from people has been the name of the game, because I think there is an allure to Colorado fly fishing, and a lot of people come out to fish, and that's great. I love it. But I don't know how really great it is for the overall picture of these streams, and especially for the fish, because they get pounded. It's sort of relentless with those crowds, and yeah. So I guess I wasn't misconstrued on anything. I didn't really have that much of an anticipation, other than it would be a lot more prolific hatches and more sort of trout and inducive climates and better bugs, and for the most part, that's true. It's the crowds that I'm frustrated with.
Do the fly shops just send people to all the same spots, or is it social media taggings, or there's just not that many secrets left anymore? A little bit of everything.
It's a little bit of everything, and you know, I love social media as much as the next person. Yeah, I've sort of been shying away from it lately, but it's cool. I'm all for folks enjoying, celebrating fish, but it's come to the point where it almost seems where folks are just fishing to post something on Instagram, and that's blown up a lot of spots, of course. But I've seen mostly it manifest in poor handling of fish, snagging fish, just all around dirty habits and bad things to, you know, get a fish in the net, you know, that there was never a driving force to otherwise, you know what I mean? So that's been frustrating. And I'll watch, like, an angler. The last winter, Anthony and I were fishing on an 11 mile, and we watched this guy just straight up snag fish, and, you know, 10-minute photo shoot. And we're like, dude, come on, man. I mean, it's cool if you get a nice fish and you want to post it, that's great, but it shouldn't be the reason why you're out there. And I think for the most part, it's kind of come to that.
Are people holding them out in winter too long, where everyone else is super bundled up, but they're not thinking about the fish not being bundled up?
Yeah. And the hot weather.
They should have like fish mittens to put them on or put them in.
Yeah, I mean, keep the fish in the water if you can, as long as you can. The grip and grins are great. I'm guilty as anyone for that stuff, you know, but I try to keep them in the water and handle them as less as I can. And I've gotten to the point where I don't really even take pictures too much anymore. I don't even have a camera on my phone. So you know, if I get a really nice fish, sure, yeah, I'll take a photo maybe. But I've learned that that's not the reason why I'm out there. I had a trip to Cheeseman this last fall and just straight crushed some big fish, and, you know, people are like, wow, you didn't want a photo with it? Well, it's like, you know, I'm trying to show that you can catch a big fish and celebrate the moment, and that, you know, there's something cool between you and that fish or whatever. But you don't always, you know, need to celebrate with a photo, I guess. And I'm not trying to be that guy, you know, by all means, but just keep it in mind that there's a bigger picture to all this. And if you're gonna hurt a fish, I'd rather see you just take it, honestly, and put it out of its misery. And
so that's what we did with my steelhead over Christmas. It was out on the rocks, and I offered it to the guy for dinner because he mentioned he wanted to have a fish to go have dinner with his buddy. I was like, you know what? If this fish is going home, I'm going to take a little bit more liberty, and I'm going to photograph it and film it and get some close-ups. Because normally when I catch a steelhead, I want it Out of the water, snap, 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 throw it back in. This one, unfortunately suffered a little bit.
And you know what? That happens. And if anyone says this isn't a blood sport, then they're lying. It is. You're impaling a fish on the face with a hook. Well, hopefully the face. I see a lot of butt hookups. The butt hatch is always on in Colorado, as we say.
Are there T-shirts for the butt hatch?
I think it's something that my friends and I made up along with the question mark.
It sounds like that's a band. Like the Butt Hatch is playing at 9:30 Club this weekend.
Well, it's gonna be. I'm gonna start a band called Butt Hatch now. So I'll play lead guitar and rhythm. So no big deal.
Nice. What is Zepp gonna play?
The bongos.
Nice.
Yeah, he's very proficient with the bongos and the mandolin, but he's still practicing the mandolin, so he's got a little ways to go there.
What's that dew claw gets in the way?
Yes. Brother Zepp, man, he's been a little salty at me because I've not taken him as much because of the crowds, and a lot of the times we've been doing more hunting and fishing combined. That's the other thing too. Public land, you're allowed to hunt for the most part in Colorado, so it's just a sort of disclaimer. You're allowed to hunt that, so anyone in, especially Cheeseman area or the Dream Stream, wear orange, man, and understand that you can't hunt that and it's not illegal. So
what would you be shooting at if you saw it?
Oh, I shoot a lot of ducks. I've had some awesome casts and blasts on the Dream whenever the Dream was fishing. The Dream's, it's not so good anymore. It's pretty much I don't even fish it anymore, really. It just gets crapped on. And so I hunted a lot, but a couple of years ago I started to hunt and fish with it, and I'll be fishing and ducks will just land, and I'll have my shotgun on my back and I just and pow, and then all these fishermen, oh God, you don't do that. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm not. Yeah, I am allowed to do that, and as long as it's a safe shot, I'm going to take it.
Got to eat.
Yeah, well, I mostly catch and release duck hunt, but yeah, sometimes I eat them. No, that's a joke. I don't catch it. That's the Onion article, actually, but no. Yeah, I get a lot of tying materials from ducks, and I eat them. They're very good.
If you only had one of your shot bird species to tie with, what would you choose?
Ooh, mallards are to beat for the just plethora of feathers, but teal has some really cool feathers. The blue-winged teal, I've kind of been messing around with a couple patterns from the blue-winged teal that have done really well for me. Betas patterns, and so probably the teal or the mallard.
So, the sandhill cranes you'll see out there along the South Platte? I heard those are really good eating. I had a client from Texas. So that is like filet mignon.
Oh, yeah. It's ribeye in the sky, we call it.
Maybe that's what it was. Ribeye.
Yeah. I don't know where you can hunt them. They're very protected, but I did watch the Meat Eater show, and there's an episode where he goes to Texas. I believe it's Texas, and they're like 3 a day there, and man, there are some really exotic looking birds.
Also, now that you've been in Colorado for a couple of years, do you have a favorite Colorado or Rocky Mountain animal now?
Yeah,
what gets you excited? The bighorns?
Yeah, probably. Those are just so cool. There's a lot of cool species in Colorado. But yeah, those are probably it. Those get me excited. I don't see them that often.
Do you ever run into rattlesnakes?
No, I don't, and I'm always really quite scared to and conscious of it. But I'm right at that threshold where they don't really move up any higher. That's I think around 6,500. So I'm right on the precipice of where they just don't exist. I know they're found at the Garden of the Gods, and that's right down the road, but it's going downhill a little bit,
The famous story from there, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast, was my wife's friend's boyfriend was there when my in-laws were there, and Yuri just happened to sit down on the same bench as the boyfriend, and they get to talking, and they realize that they know the same person from Ohio that's out there. And this guy was with another woman, and the story gets reported back to my wife's friend. So randomly, in the middle of nowhere, my father-in-law caught a cheater and busted up a relationship. That's the short end of the story. But that was at the Garden of the Gods. He just happened to sit down next to the guy in Colorado who's dating my wife's friend.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Small world.
It is. That's why you don't cheat.
Exactly.
Super lame.
Have you ever fished or had the opportunity to fish private water out there?
Yeah. Anthony Marisi. He takes my bro gas into some nice places sometimes. But for the most part, I don't. I fished some private stuff on the Eagle and with him, and I get invited to Rainbow Falls a lot, and it never seems to work out, and I'm never really that disappointed. But apparently, it's just just loaded with big fish. They're all stocked, but whatever, that's fun, But I just haven't been able to make it work up there. But yeah, I've got on some stuff, and really, unless it's like private in the sense that it's just off limits and natural or wild, I'm really not that interested. Like the big fish game is it's great. I mean, we all want to catch big fish, but I've gotten more focused on finding wild fish. The native greenback has been awesome. I've gotten into that fish in some very unlikely places, but also some likely places. It's not a secret that they've been restocking those fish, and especially in Estes Park, they're everywhere up there. That's a lot of fun. So, private stuff.
If you get a chance, cool. Man, you can't pass it up. What is the farthest you're going to drive to go fishing? Because things are pretty spread out in Colorado.
Yeah. So
and are you still driving the Prius?
Well, yeah. If I'm going somewhere that's, I still have my Yoda. My Taco is very reliable. I'll drive as far as I need to, or there's really no limit there. We drove to Texas from Colorado, the coast of Texas, for redfish. That was like a 2-day drive, and it was awesome. And we got into like a couple redfish, but mostly sea trout, and hell of a time.
So earlier you mentioned some hatches. What are some of the hatches? When do they come off? Anything? Is it a sunny day? One comes off cloudy. What you can also throw to match those? So if someone's going to fly out there and they're going to bring a box, what do you suggest they fill it with?
So yeah, that's a great question. There's a predictability to it to an extent. If you come out here to Colorado, firstly, you're going to want to know what type of river you're fishing. So if you're on the South Platte fishing the tailwater systems, understand that you're going to be throwing smaller bugs. There's less oxygen, and inherently those bugs that like that tailwater or thrive in that sort of environment are going to be, midges and mostly betas, BWO stuff. And so the freestones contrast a little bit. They're a little bit bigger bugs, and there's a little bit more hatches with them, I think. They have blue quill, red quill on the Arkansas, especially in the fall. I think it's been a minute since I've been down there. But let's start with, this early spring. We're looking for midges now coming off, BWOs coming off. And then as it warms up, getting into the April, May kind of time frame, we'll start to see some yellow sallies. PMDs are huge hatch. And for those two, I like a size 16, 18 for the PMDs, 16 for the yellow sallies. And then when the caddis start popping, I tie and this is I'm speaking to the South Platte right now. I will throw a size 18 caddis, but it's deceivingly small there, because what I do is, if you look at the caddis if you look at the most prolific caddis that's on 11 mile. Its wing is really long and its body is really short. So I could actually extend that wing with the elk hair a bit. So it looks like a 16, and that's why I was kind of saying it was 16. But it's really an 18 body, but I extend that wing. When the PMDs and the caddis are hot on the South Platte, you're in business. The fishing is just lights out. And then the wintertime, I kind of look for more midges and some stoneflies and stuff, but that's going to be more prolific on the freestone stuff. I guess I skipped over the summer month on there. So as we get into the summer, we'll start throwing terrestrials and all that good stuff, hoppers in midsummer, stonefly patterns, definitely. And Amy's ant is just, whew, that fly just crushes in both, the tailwaters and the freestones. If you go late summer to the Arkansas, and all you need is a Amy's ant.
You throwing droppers behind any of these?
When it's on, no, absolutely not. You don't need to. And if I'm searching, throw a dropper. And what I've sort of got onto with the dropper has been a lot of the Euro nymphs do really well for me as a dropper. They sink so fast, and they're on that little jig hook, and I love that barbless hook. They really do well. So I've been mostly throwing a lot, the Paragons or whatever they call them.
Perdigon.
Yeah.
So is the like Perdigon game strong out there? Like maybe also the overly dressed monster streamers? Are the kids throwing some big Instagram streamers?
They are. They move fish, I think. But I think it takes a really special angler to get it done consistently with those big streamers. And they have their time and they have their place, of course. But for the most part, my streamer game usually is smaller. I like, a woolly bugger or a slump buster. And then a smaller, lighter fly even off that two streamers. I like throwing two streamers. I think that works better. But I'll throw those big guys too, and those guys are out there, and I'm sure they move fish, and when they do move them, they're probably really big.
What's the biggest trout you've seen in Colorado? Wild versus dog food fed?
Oh, yeah, so hands down, wild, Cheeseman Canyon, throwing streamers, and again, the double streamer rig with slump buster up front, and then it was like this weightless woolly bugger, and I had a 30-plus inch trout just come up and just miss. And, it was thrown it way in those big crevices and deep pools that you got to be pretty slick to get it back there, but there's a fish there. And that was probably the biggest, and I would assume it was a wild fish. It definitely had been living there a while. And then the dog food stuff, I don't know, man. Probably the dream stream with those lake run fish. I think they're all stockers. I'm pretty sure they are. And we catch 10-plus pound fish on a regular there. But again, that may not probably be viable so much anymore. The dream has just been crapped on, and it does not fish well anymore. I fished the brown spawn this year to illustrate, and I moved. Well, I get one nice brown, and it was a good fish, and I was happy. It was a big brown, and put it back, and I was guiding my dad and some of his friends, and they said, "Oh, wow, that's great. Well, that's okay. Well, let's do it." And they spent the next few hours just getting nothing. I mean, they couldn't move a fish, and they were great anglers, so I don't think it was anything like that. It was more or less, I got lucky with, and it was the first cat. You know how it goes as a guide, right? You pick up the rod, and of course you're going to hook up on a fish, right? And that's exactly what happened. They say, hey, how would you fish this rod? And I said, well, here, and then boom, nice brown.
How I got the biggest smallmouth of my life.
Oh, nice.
Clients wanted to see how you work a woolly bugger, and this thing just came out of nowhere and ate it. I was like, oops. In fact, the two biggest smallmouths I've ever caught out of the Potomac system were when clients wanted to see me cast.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How's the Potomac? I miss the Potomac, man.
They say the snakeheads are doing a toll on some of the smaller species. It's we haven't had any major rainstorms. Today was super windy. I had to cancel my client. That's the second time we've had to cancel for wind. This is going to blow the water out.
Wow.
I'm just looking forward to the shadow run starting again.
That is, wow, that's just so much fun. I do miss the shad run.
You just never know what you're going to hook into.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And they're just a fun fish. Very underrated fish, I think.
Do you find people are surprised to find salmon living in Colorado?
Yeah, that is a hoot. Oh man, that's cool. That's cool you brought that up. So the kokanee, for the listeners that may not know, Colorado has a landlocked, dwarfed sockeye salmon known as the kokanee. The kokanee is super cool. I love that fish, and the local mindset is they hate them, especially around the Gunnison area, because some reservoirs have them and they run up the streams that connect to them, and some don't. Gunnison obviously is one of them. The Dream Stream is one of them. I think Dillon Reservoir has them. A couple other ones.
Go up the blue.
Yeah. But they're awesome, and when they make their run, they go through a metamorphosis just like the sockeye does, and get the big gnarly humpback and kype, and I love them. I think they're a hoot, and I found that red patterns really work well for them. So any listeners in Colorado that may want to start pursuing them, I tie like what do they call that? A pig sticker. Yeah, that's a good one. And just red, or a red egg, or red pheasant tail. Red just seems to piss them off, and they go nuts when you hook up on them, and they're just a lot of fun. But the locals hate them. They say they get in the way of the trout, and oftentimes they will intercept your fly before it gets down.
I don't see what's wrong with that.
No, I don't either. I think they're fun,
and they're probably dropping eggs everywhere, so you can fish egg patterns behind them.
Yeah, they add a lot of biomass in just a general sense, like from the egg to when they die. So I love them. They're fun. And the folks on the hard water now, they catch them in the wintertime through the ice, and that's when they're in their silver state in the reservoir. So they're good eating, I hear, too. But it's sort of an enigma, though, because I don't think they really eat like more than photoplankton or very, very small bugs. But anyways, I don't think their diet is really conducive to line up with most fly patterns, but for some reason they will eat a fly when they spawn, and the guys with the hard water, you'll have to ask them. I don't know how they get them, but they eat in the winter, and I see the guys ice fishing, catching them all the time and eating them too.
The first time I heard there was salmon, I was very confused. Just as confused as I was when I was told there were Chinook salmon in the Great Lakes. I said, get out of town.
Yeah, get out of town.
Get out of town.
Shout out to Pittsburgh. What's up, Pittsburgh?
What is something every Colorado angler should carry on them at all times when they're fishing?
A shotgun. Yeah, I'm kidding. Shotgun does really set a nice tone, though. People are a lot nicer to you when you have a shotgun on your back. I don't know why, but no.
Can I carry my pellet gun over my shoulder?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that would work.
I don't know how I'd get it there.
I'll buy a pellet gun for you when you come out next.
Sweet.
And you can carry that.
Yeah, so the spring break trip is been canceled for Colorado, so we're looking at Miami or the Keys right now.
Oh, the Keys would be fun.
Yes.
Have you done any saltwater fishing lately, or
No.
would you plan on fishing there?
Oh yeah, that's all I'm gonna do.
Nice.
Right.
So what would you? Let me play the role as the podcaster.
Yes.
So if you go to the Keys, what type of fish are you looking for?
I wouldn't mind looking for some snook.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything. I don't really care.
What are you gonna throw for the snook?
Probably clousers. I'd have to research this. Maybe I need to get a Florida Keys guide up on this. And
I think if you want a permit, you might.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have time to do a day trip out somewhere, but man, I would love to see the Marquesas at some point, the dried Tortugas. But it's also a family vacation, so I'm expected to be with them. That's why I was hoping Miami, because they could hang out in a park while I go and try to get some peacocks out of a canal. We could do things together.
Yeah, there is peacocks down there, huh? Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Have you gotten one of those?
No. Yeah, I've seen a couple when I was in Kauai. That was it.
Oh, you were in Kauai. Did you bonefish?
I did. I fished all over that. That was the honeymoon. And then Oahu was 2010.
Did you get into them?
No bonefish. I saw a couple. I caught some kind of invasive grouper and a Christmas wrasse. Christmas wrasse, if no one's ever seen one of those, look it up. It's pretty amazing looking. And then a lot of inshore lizard fish.
Wow. That's really cool.
But you can feed the bonefish bread at the marine sanctuary down by the Prince statue in Waikiki.
Oh, wow.
Everything eats white bread there.
That's crazy. I cut my teeth on those Hawaiian bones. They are tough. I got one, and that was it. And I fish hard. They are tough.
Where would you want to be hunting and fishing if you had a couple of days off that wasn't Colorado?
I've always wanted to get to Idaho and Montana, Wyoming. They don't. Montana's kind of getting there, but they're not so pressured there. The trout have a sense of I guess wildness that, and you don't. I guess we'll run into so many people. The thing with Colorado is that it's so populated now, and it is such a destination for folks that these streams are just they're so crowded, and it's cool to see a lot of people now interested in the sport. That's great. I'm not saying that, but there isn't as many opportunities that are so accessible to folks in Colorado as they think. So the main river systems do get pounded. So yeah, I'm looking, if I do go somewhere, it's going to probably either be salt or somewhere where there's no people. And we go to Washington, where my friend Anthony, I keep mentioning, he's a good dude. But we go to Washington a lot, and we fish for, the native rainbow trout is native up there. So we fish for them up there, and big patterns. It's such a cool thing, Being able to throw a huge stonefly on the reg is amazing, because you're so dialed in with these small bugs that it transcribes to other streams in a really nice way, because you're anticipating a smaller, subtle hit, and I think you miss less fish when you're dialed into something like I'm used to. So, Washington and Wyoming, I fished a lot, and I want to get to Idaho and Montana more. And and the salt. Hawaii was so cool. I'll go back there. Those bonefish are amazing. Would like to get down to the Keys too and smack a permit. But Texas is cool too. I fish Texas a lot. Corpus Christi area for the Reds. That's a hoot. And Pennsylvania too a lot, because I'm from there. When I go back home, I'll fish usually. That's just, every place has something, It's just a matter of finding it.
Can you confirm or deny the rumors that you introduced Palomino trout to Colorado?
Yes, of course. That was me, 100%.
I knew it. You brought him back from Pennsylvania.
Well, someone had to do it. So if it had to be me, it was, so you got to do what you got to do.
What bodies of water have those been popping up in?
I don't really see them too much. The more stocked areas, obviously, I think. But for the most part, I haven't ran into that many. More or less some, really bright cutty. Sometimes I'll get confused. I'm like, is that no, okay, it's cutty. For the most part, yeah. No, I don't run into those things. Are they there? Are they out in Colorado? I didn't even know they were.
The social media has shown me that there are palominos in Colorado.
Well, I think it's a natural phenomenon. So, I mean, like, I'm sure to an extent there's a percentage of fish that will be albino because they're albino, right? That's all they are, right?
It's been a while since I read Anders Halverson's book, The Most Synthetic Fish. It was some kind of genetic thing bred into them, some melanistic. I don't remember.
Yeah, so that's something I won't even try to speak to. But there is some golden trout, which are really cool. They're not native. I think they're only really native to California and the closest region. But they're in some of the alpine lakes. A friend of mine, Brett, went to Montana this year actually, and caught some really big golden trout up there, and some high alpine stuff that you have to hike to. But for the listeners out there, I would like to say, if you do start to do the off-grid stuff and backpacking stuff, just be safe. It's never a bad idea to have a firearm, and it's never a bad idea to be smart about it. I mean, plan stuff out. Water's huge, and you're going to water, of course, but I see a lot of people that don't have enough water on the trail. I see a lot of people that just didn't do their research. So before you go somewhere like that, do your research and be safe. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. For the most part, that's really kind of where I head these days, and to get away from the crowds, as I mentioned before. I'll stop beating that dead horse.
How's that dude doing that killed a mountain lion that attacked him up near Horsetooth? Is he still in the news at all?
Yeah.
And the bizarre thing is, the article starts with, I was just going for an 8-mile run up the mountain. Just like, what?
Yeah, right.
Dude, seriously? I don't like going up the 5 steps to the kitchen.
Well, everyone in Colorado seems to be pretty physically fit and into that kind of stuff. So that's great. I love seeing that. But I guess the mountain lion was a juvenile. So, and let's also keep in mind that mountain lion's probably not going to attack you unless it's sort of in a bad place. Like they're not probably going to pursue you as a food source unless they really have to. And for the California listeners, I understand. Yeah, you guys get tagged all the time on your bikes and stuff because you look like prey, and that's kind of another thing. But in Colorado, I don't hear much of those attacks if it's not something like I was mentioning where they're either wounded or just not able to get a meal, right? So then they look at maybe a human as a meal. And not taking anything away from that guy. That guy's super badass. Kudos to him. Shout out to that guy. But for the most part, I think that was a very sort of, it was an anomaly, I think, is what I'm saying.
Do you think people from California taste better or maybe smell more appetizing?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a good point. I bet you they do taste better. You are what you eat, right? Yeah. So I think the Californians and their good diets and blonde hair and beach bods, they probably are pretty good.
Stuart, what are you doing here?
Oh, dude, I just saw that. That's funny. What are you doing here?
Stuart, what are you doing
here? Saturday Night Live, nice reference,
yes.
Mr. Snowhite.
There was
nice
a
reference indeed.
Great interview yesterday with Leslie Jones on Morning Edition. I miss her.
I don't even know who that is.
She was funny. She was like, just loud, and she was a big woman. She'd always like break down the door and had a surprise face. Yeah. Always going after Colin Jost. I always tweet Colin Jost and Michael Che and compliment them on their choice of ties that week, knowing that it's the same tie and shirt and jacket they wear every week. It's been a while. Nice. We're like, Colin, Michael, sharp choice there with those ties.
That is awesome. I like your style.
Yes.
For the most part, I watch Forensic Files and Tie Flies. So my, I guess, knowledge of television outside of some, pretty niche stuff like Saturday Night Live, of course, which we just had that moment with, which was a very nice moment. Mr. Snowhite. I enjoyed that. I don't know what that skit was called, but
The
that was super funny.
Californians.
Yes, it was. And it had the guy from Portlandia. Yeah,
Yes.
he was. Yeah, it was super funny. And I guess Portlandia is spot on. My wife just went up there a couple months ago, and she's like, "You know the show Portlandia? Yeah, it's dead on."
It's kind of a documentary or a reality show up there.
Put some birds on it. You know.
Yeah, and we haven't had IFC in years, so I don't even know if it's still on.
Yeah, and the more I find out about those two actors, the more they're just so cool. The lady was in
Slater
Kinney.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea. That's so cool.
Yeah, they just got a new drummer. I think it was a new drummer.
Are they all girls?
Yes, and they've been around together for a long time.
That's awesome.
I wish
I like
I
to
had
see that,
musical
yeah.
talent. Then I could join the band with you and Zepp.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have much, but what we lack in talent, we make up for in practicing.
Does Talia play an instrument?
Yeah, she plays the piano. We got a new piano, and she'll play a lot of classical stuff because she's wicked smart and does her thing with the classical stuff. But myself, I play the blues and mostly blues. But I play with my neighbor. He
play Pogs.
Wow, Pogs. I have not heard Pogs.
You going over there to play some? What are their names? Some Power Rangers? Or are you saying you go over there to play music?
I hope this is cut out, but yeah, we don't play Pogs or Power Rangers. I wish we did. I don't have my Slammer. It's back home, but that's what you're referring to, the Pog game, right?
Yeah, mine's in the shop.
Are you working in the shop?
No, I just meant like the Pog shop. Not that if there is one.
Oh, okay. I thought you were back at Orvis.
No.
Are you allowed in an Orvis store? They let you in?
I was in there today, dropping off TPFR cards and looking for Pink Flashaboo. And then you have Pink Flashaboo.
Is Art still at?
He's running Arlington.
Arlington, yeah.
He's now president of TPFR, and he says hello. He just gave me an Instapot that he got for his wedding. So hopefully the person who gave it to him isn't listening. He's like, hey, you wanted a deep fryer like 8 months ago? And I said, sure.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And now we got an Instapot.
He got married and everything?
Yeah, he's married to Trent's lady's sister. They're twins, Apple and Bunny.
Oh, that's so cool.
So him and Trent are like brother-in-laws.
That is awesome. Trent and Art are both tremendously cool people. I shout out to those guys, man. I miss seeing y'all. Artemis and Trent, you're now brothers. Go forth and prosper.
And keep giving me kitchen appliances. All I need now to complete my kitchen is a vertical citrus press, like with a hand lever, like you'd have at a bar or a hotel.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
I want one of those.
Are you still cooking a lot?
Yeah, man. A lot of Indian. So for New Year's Eve, I did on the Traeger smoked tandoori wings and then this really killer dal. This rice the Pakistani guy taught me how to make at the market down the street from our old house. But that dal makhani, man, oh my goodness.
Wow, that sounds great, man.
So good.
That is awesome. Well, when you come out next, I'm going to have to teach you some of my wild game recipes. Get you on. I got a mule deer this year and a whitetail, lots of small game. So I'll save some choice meats for you when you come out next. And
what about soft tackle? What would you shoot for soft tackles out there? Oh,
I'm glad you asked. A lot of the small birds. What are those?
Ptarmigan.
No, I have not found ptarmigan. They are hard to find. You got to go up. They're not always white, I don't think. So when they are not white, they really blend in. And when they're white, they really blend in because, don't quote me on that. I'm fairly positive that's how they work, but haven't really pursued them. We do it's a small bird. It's not a dove. It's the other little thing. They eat the cactuses.
A finch.
No. Well, we shoot a lot of snipe in duck season. Snipe is cool. I don't get much feathers from them, but they're a cool bird. If you've never seen one, look them up. They're really sweet. But they're migratory as well, and they love the marshy areas, so they come in a lot. And my friend Dr. Clark, the wildlife biologist, we'll be duck hunting, and there's ducks coming in, and he's like, "Hey, let's go shoot some snipe." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
I'm gonna
whatever.
finish up at eHarmony today, and we're gonna go shoot some snipe.
Yeah, the bird that I cannot remember the name of, which is really low-hanging fruit. Yes, definitely pelican. No,
they would puncture their pouch if they were picking at the cactuses. Cacti.
Yeah. No, and the gall on these birds that I can't remember the name of.
Magpie.
No. Those are carnivorous, actually, which are cool. But hold tight. Let's pause that. Let me look it up because I feel like an idiot.
All right. If you were gonna shoot a bird for a soft hackle, what would you be shooting?
Quail has been a great soft hackle material for me. I'd like to sort of find a way to get into some partridge, but I don't even know if they're around. But the quail, I got some private land where I've gotten into pretty good. And Dr. Clark and I, a wildlife biologist, my friend.
Wait, he's not the guy from the dating site?
No.
That's Dr. Neil Clark.
Yeah. No, Dr. Clark is a very cool dude that I hunt with and tie flies with. And
what's he a doctor of? Is he like Dr. Dre?
No, he's a biologist. I've really enjoyed hunting with him because he knows so much about these birds, and with ducks, I don't shoot every duck. So I've learned through him which ones are eaters and which ones we're gonna pass on, and we don't shoot divers that much, and we mostly shoot the puddle ducks, and those things are very hard to identify. So it's really great to have someone that's like insightful and able to identify them from far away. So, and we'll still work the birds, bring them in, but oftentimes we don't shoot because if we're gonna shoot a duck, we're gonna eat it, and the divers just don't taste as good. But quail hunting is a lot of fun, and I'll quail hunt and rabbit hunt, and that produces a lot of material for me, especially soft hackles. And really, it's as simple as a hare's ear dubbing, a little collar with the quail, and usually I'll throw some CDC in there too.
Where does one put a deceased bird when they're fishing?
Well, but it depends on how many I have. They're hard to get, so usually there's only a couple, so I can.
Do you tie their heads together and put them around your neck?
No, I usually just throw them in my game pouch on my hunting vest or my backpack. We carry a bag, usually with it's perforated and has a drawstring, and that works out nice. Lets it breathe. It's usually so cooled that there's never usually a problem. But just bring the old backpack or game pouch, man.
Okay.
Yeah, and you got to be careful too, because if I'm going to use them for tying, I got to make sure to keep them in a nice little state there and not rough them up too much. But I've gotten pretty proficient with, skinning them out, getting the cape out in one piece, preserving them. And I had 2 quail last year that I did that with, full capes, and I tied a lot of flies, a lot of good flies that really work.
Sweet.
So meet your meat, get some tying material, you know what I mean?
Heck yeah. So if you had words of wisdom as a Colorado transplant on for people to be better anglers in Colorado, what's something they should work on, practice, think about, have in the back of their mind?
Wow, that's a great question. So let me gather a good thought for it. Firstly, approach. I see too many people wading way too far in the water. If you don't have to get in the water, don't get in the water. I see a lot of people in their presentation that are false casting over fish too much and put them down. Even just getting away from your bobber. I guess that would probably be the biggest one. You don't have to bobber fish. There's other methods. If fish are rising, fish to each fish, or whatever environment you have or situation you have, I guess would be a better way to put it. And be smarter, less casts, better presentation, and you can deviate from bobber fishing. That in a nutshell, I think would make a lot of anglers more happy to find that they can actually throw a dry fly and pull it off. You can do it, but be smarter. I'm seeing a lot of people, again, way too far in that water. They're stepping on fish. You're in the run, and you're on where you should be fishing. Really, not enough people pay attention to just reading fish too as well. Sometimes fish are not eating. If they're not eating and they're, you might get them to eat. Give them a couple casts, but move on. So I guess to summarize, just be smarter and have a smarter approach and keep your profile down. Fish, anyone who knows how a trout sees on that cone knows that if you stay low, you can really get close to trout, and you don't have to use a bobber. It's okay to throw a dry fly.
Sweet. Any others?
Open it up not only to dry flies, but soft hackles. I don't see enough people throwing soft hackles. I swing flies all the time, and I'm going to give a big secret away here. Soft hackles are a great way to beat the wind because you can cast into the wind, down and across, and swing fish up a lot more than you would realize. That's actually really insightful because I see people leave, and I'll use that approach, way out the wind, and pick up a few fish, and then when the wind dies down, go back to throwing the way I want to. And also casting. I mean, you don't have to be the best caster in the trout realm. We all know this, but a double haul goes a long way when you really want to throw a fly upstream in Colorado, because you're not going to beat the wind. Sometimes that's true, so you have to kind of adapt, like with a soft tackle approach. But sometimes, if you're, especially seeing fish rise, you can beat that wind with line speed. So practice your hauls and just give fish breaks. You can't keep peppering them. So I can go on for days with like stupid mistakes like that, but for the most part, it really boils down to presentation, profile, just your approach, really.
All right. Well, I've got a baker's dozen questions for you now. Who has the best sandwich in Colorado Springs these days? And that is to include Manitou Springs.
I don't really eat out. I can't even answer that, man. I don't eat out that much.
What's the word on the street? What are the kids saying?
Oh, they don't talk to me.
Okay.
Well, so I cannot speak to that. There's a lot of good Mexican. So the green chili stuff out here is good. I'll definitely bust down on that. Oh yeah. I don't know, man. I think if you come to Colorado and you're looking for a sandwich, you got your priorities wrong.
We'll take that. That should be a shirt also.
You got your priorities wrong?
No, if you came here for sandwiches, you got your priorities wrong.
Yeah, exactly, right.
What's your...
I would rather...
Oscar.
I said I'd rather shoot something in the field and, cook it up at the tailgate, or, bring it home to my beautiful wife and cook her up something,
Don't eat all her halibut fingers at once.
Wow, you remember that?
Oh, yeah. All right. What's your drink these days in case you come out to D.C. and I need to be prepared?
All right, so that changes with the climate. We do a thing called, I don't know what it's called, but we take the peppermint schnapps, and hot chocolate for the winter, and that's just, oh my god, that's killer. And then, summertime, cold beer, it's hard to beat. So I'm a pretty simple man, Rob. And then the nip of whiskey in the winter is always good too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh yeah, probably the blue heron. I mean, just chilling on the water, taking his time, and kind of tall and lean. I guess I would. That's probably my spirit animal.
Who's your favorite James Bond?
I had never seen a James Bond.
What?
Well, I will say this. I prefer Michael Scott's James Bond. James Bonfire. But there is apparently, and maybe you can enlighten me on which one this is, but I am looking at buying a new little rifle, and what it is a Henry AR-7, and it's a survival rifle that folds up into the buttstock, and it's like 2 pounds. And apparently James Bond shoots down a helicopter with it in one of the movies, because I've been researching it, and that's what everyone speaks to in the comments. And so I don't know anything about that, but that sounds super badass.
I have to think about that one.
Yeah, so if you know it, I mean, I don't know, but no, I'm not a big James Bond guy.
All right. Well, on to other movies then. We could just maybe cancel this one out. But who was your Oscar pick for 2020?
I don't even know who was. Dude, you gotta realize who you're talking to. The mainstream stuff. I live under a rock, man.
No, you live next to a rock. It's a mountain.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. Is like I know Adam Sandler was pretty butthurt he didn't get the Oscar. Was it?
Correct.
Yeah, the Oscar. But other than that, man, I watch a lot of movies, but I don't give a crap about who wins an Oscar. That's meaningless to me. But I am a big fan of cinema, so yeah, I guess I kind of interpret that stuff on my own, which I implore people to do more of, because the Oscars and all that stuff is just not my scene, I guess.
Right on. What about an irrational phobia that you may have?
I think I just spoke to it this whole podcast. The irrational fear I have is of people in society.
All right. Agoraphobia. What
Is that
animal?
what it is?
Yeah, I think so. What's your favorite hot sauce?
There's a couple local ones that I really like, and I can't think of their names, but what's this CH one?
Cholula.
Cholula, yes.
I just
Yes,
bought
that's
the
probably
green
my
bottle.
go-to.
Yeah, I like the green.
Did you?
I like the green
Yeah.
hot sauces more than the red, but most green hot sauces have food coloring. There's very few that don't.
No kidding.
What animal, if you could, would you bring back from extinction?
Well, they already brought it back. It was the greenback cutthroat that was extinct, but they brought it back. So that's been taken care of. Probably the dodo then.
What's your most played album?
Wow, that is going to be a tough one. Probably maybe Neil Young After the Gold Rush, but that's such a hard question. I mean, there's so many good bands and so many good albums. But yeah, Neil for Neil. The Beatles, Revolver, The Grateful Dead, American Beauty, or Live in Europe. Pigpen Days are amazing for the Dead. Yeah, I could go on for days for that. So let's just say Gwen Stefani. Yeah, that's it right there. I don't know what record she made, but Gwen. Yeah, I don't know.
When you play Monopoly, which is your first choice of figurines?
I don't really know if I've played Monopoly in the last decade, but
They may have
probably
changed
the
them.
guy with the does the guy with the monocle still exist?
I hope so. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be my choice, just so I can make references to Ace Ventura. Yeah.
Do you have any special body traits like being double jointed or having webbed toes that you admit to telling?
No, but I am ambidextrous, so I fly fish with both hands, which is super awesome in the cold. Also, when you're fishing different water, and high sticking especially is helpful with, because I can rotate hands. Yeah, I think ambidextrous is something that translates well to the fishing too. So yeah, that would be it.
It helps when you're sword fighting a Spaniard and then going after a giant.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but yeah, that would be helpful.
Do you hate follow anyone on social media?
No, I don't. If I follow you on social media, I very much like you and what you're putting out there, which is rare because, again, going back to my phobias, yeah, I don't really hate anyone, I guess, on social media because I eliminate anybody that would irritate me. So if I've defriended you, that's a good chance that you're kind of a.
And last question, what are you looking forward to most in 2020?
We're doing a trip to the Dolomites in Italy. I've scheduled it. We've planned it out so I can hit some water. So I'm gonna be fishing Europe, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. Honestly, just getting back out to some of the high alpine lakes this summer. That's a good question. There's a lot to look forward to, and for those listeners out there that don't really have much to look forward to, change that. You don't have to spend a lot of money to go out and adventure and do some hiking and explore what's around you. So I'd say just being alive, man, just taking each day and having fun.
All right. Well, have fun in Oklahoma and watch out for Rupert the Monkey Boy.
Yeah, I'll try, man. Oklahoma's a trip. It's I saw some legit cowboys here, and they were quite decked out in some cowboy gear, and they gave me the old nod. So I said, all right, boys, take it easy out there. Howdy.
Right on, dude. Well, thanks for coming on and dishing about some more of your Colorado lifestyle, and we'll be out this summer for sure.
I appreciate you having me on, and you're always welcome out my way, Rob. You're the man, and thanks again for having me, man.
It's
been really fun.
Cool, dude.
Thank you for joining us for the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast. For more information or to contact Rob, please go to www.robsnowhite.com. This podcast is brought to you by Freestone Productions at freestoneproductions.com.